your family, your spiritual life, does any of that feel unstable? Well, I've written a book creating how to use rhythms to create stability for sustainability. This book is available on Amazon, and I intend to read for you this book for probably the next 30 days. I don't know how long it will take, but I'll probably read maybe like a chapter a day, and we see how far that will go. In case you pick something, please share in the comments. Yes, I'm going to start with the dedications. I would like to dedicate this book to all my musician friends, musical friends that I have played and sung with over the years. I will not mention any names because to mention is to omit, and to omit is to offend. Thank you all for making me who I have become musically. Always remember that there is more to life than just music. Much love. I'm not going to read the acknowledgements. Let me just move on to the introduction, and then I'll read chapter 1. Yeah, so the introduction says, I have this weekly jogging rhythm of 5 to 10 kilometers, at least 3 times a week. I used to love jogging in my young days, primarily because I wanted to be fit and look good for the girls. But when I got married, it was no longer about girls, but the girl. However, I have come to realize that every time I jog, I get epiphanies on many things that I might be working on, either in my business, ministry, family, or even my physical fitness. Jogging time is thinking time for me. It's the time when I get fresh solutions for problems I'm trying to solve. I have never missed jogging for anything. So, this one time I'm jogging, and I noticed that when I lock into a rhythm, flow, or routine or habit while jogging, it feels like I can almost go on forever. But then also the quality of my thoughts improve. But then when I would return home, I would forget almost all the thoughts that came to me while jogging, except the last 2 or 3 ideas. So I decided to start recording my thoughts as they came to me on my phone while jogging. And so this one time I'm jogging, and it just hit me that life is about rhythm. The moment I know my rhythms and lock into them, the sky is the limit for how far I can go or how much I can achieve in a particular area. This is what people call being in the zone. But then also the other big idea that came to me was that different people have different rhythms that work for them, and so latching on to another person's rhythm, especially someone that has succeeded in an area of life, can help you achieve what they have achieved in that area. Just by listening and doing what they do, when they do it, you can do what they do. While in my secondary school, I was in a club called Youth Alive. One thing that was emphasized a lot in Youth Alive was behavior change. Yeah. But then it always was change from bad behavior, like escaping from school, to go night clubbing, to good behavior, like being involved in sports or reading ahead of the teacher. I have come to realize that behavior change is part of life. To belong to any group of people, your behavior has to change to align to that group. If you want to become a more spiritual person, you have to do the things that spiritual people do, like praying, reading the Bible, listening to other spiritual people speak, and doing what they do. If you want to lose or gain weight to a certain level, you have to talk to people who are the target weight and see what they do to stay at that weight. Then you can also benchmark yourself against them and do the same thing again and again. This is locking into another rhythm to create a certain outcome. Behavior change can be attained through change of your rhythm. There was a time in my life when I thought being serious was cool, so I never used to smile. And as a result, I had very few friends. In fact, one only had two friends. I only had two friends. But one day, someone caught me smiling and said, "You have a beautiful smile." From that day forward, I started smiling more because I thought to myself, if my smile is beautiful, then I should let the whole world see it. From that time onward, I became more friendly and made more friends. Without knowing it, you have daily rhythms and routines or habits. Every time you go to brush your teeth, take a shower, or use our computers, a certain part of our brain triggers a series of activities that we perform, often without even realizing. We call these things habits. We have done them so often that now they are second nature to us. In fact, we even reach a point and own these habits like they are a part of our DNA. The rhythms in our life right now have been adopted from somewhere or someone, and they are giving you the results you are currently getting. The interesting thing is that if you had to unlearn or relearn any of these habits, I can only imagine it would probably be like watching someone trying to use chopsticks for the first time. It would likely be very messy and cause everything to take 4 times as long. So, why are rhythms relevant to us right now? Most people's work situations have been flipped upside down due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic and the lockdowns, SOPs, and other restrictions governments have imposed as a result. If you have been lucky, instead of a typical morning routine of a shower, breakfast, and an office commute, you are now finding yourself working from home, often on a makeshift desk with little monitoring. And like any big change, this is accompanied by a long period of adjustments, trial, and error. As we have no idea how long this may last, it would potentially change the perception of working from home forever. The problem that most people are having with working from home right now is staying productive throughout the day. Clearly, what's happening is unprecedented in the modern era. But as human beings, we will inevitably adopt back to peak productivity and change according to our new environment. I wrote this book during COVID. That's when I started writing the book. That's why it's giving references on COVID and stuff like that. However, if you're interested in bettering yourself, your career, and your relationships, it's probably best to create rhythms that will support your current aspirations. One of the good things about going to work in an office is that it forces you to show up. You have to get ready, make yourself presentable, and leave the house. This usually happens a set time every single day, and you don't have a choice. You go through these motions whether you like it or not. This brings us into some form of morning rhythm or routine, often involving showering, eating, and traveling. But when working from home, we actually have the luxury of not doing any of these things. We can skip showering because who's gonna see us anyway? What I found to be interesting is how this affects us mentally. When we stop doing all these things before we start our day, I have found that on days when I am working from home but don't implement these things or these habits or these routines first thing in the morning, I'm often left feeling like I am playing catch up with my day. causing me to feel stressed, anxious, and unmotivated rather than organized, confident, and efficient. So, maintaining a good morning routine while working from home is a great way to combat this potential hurdle to our productivity throughout the day. In his book, The Power of Habit, Charles Duhigg breaks down a habit into three separate areas: cue, routine, and reward, which he calls the habit loop. Many of us understand habits to be a simple routine that we repeat again and again. But what many of us don't realize is that there is often a cue within our brains that triggers the habit we have built up. For instance, when you snack on bread that is put on the counter where you see it, you don't think about every single step of the process. It's something you have done again and again. So now when you do it, a part of your brain causes you to go on autopilot. That's the routine. Then there is the reward, where you can sit down, enjoy the fruits of your labor, and your brain subconsciously tells you that it was worth it, and it's well worth doing exactly the same thing next time. Rhythms save our brain a bunch of time and effort, and often save us from having to think about the intricacies of how a task is done every single time. What we may not realize is that we have been previously forming habits in our day job for months, sometimes even years. Because I'm a musician and a producer of music, I know a thing or two about rhythms: how to create them, how to maintain them, how to learn and adopt to new ones. I learned how to play drums by observing another young man playing drums at church, then going home and practicing on the table with spoons, forks, plates, and cups every single week. The day I sat on the drums for the first time, I just started playing. I have never really had a drum teacher, but my curious mind has robbed has rubbed shoulders with many good drummers and picked a thing from every single drummer I have met. From how to hold the sticks to how to conserve energy to be able to play a 3-hour prayer session while praying at the same time. I will be talking a lot about music and how it is created, how different rhythms come together to make the music that you so love. Even the melody sits on rhythm. Rhythm is very fundamental, not just in music, but even in life. We have heard of things like the circadian rhythm. We see rhythms of multiplication in animals, plants, and even bacteria. The way a virus like COVID-19 spreads to cover the entire world happens in waves. I am also told that malaria fever also comes in waves. When you understand how rhythms affect your outcome in a year, in 5 years, in a decade, or even to the next generation, you will pay more attention to your rhythms. You have created the music of your life up to this point in time, using the rhythms you have allowed to shape this music, its tempo, and even the emphasis or intensity of certain sections of the music. The music of your relationships, the music of your physical health or well-being, the music of your thoughts and intellect, the music of your finances, and the music of your spirituality. In this book, I will try to shine light on the blind spots in your life to help you see what it has become because of what you have allowed into it, and what it could be by you allowing and creating certain rhythms in it to forge a totally new life of stability, with music you want to listen to and dance to. So that was the introduction. I'm not going to read chapter 1. This was quite long, probably like 15 minutes. That's good. If you have anything in the comments that you want to ask, feel free to ask. I want to try and read at least something every day for the next 30 days and see where it goes. If you want the book, it's available on Amazon. I also have physical copies. Just get in touch. Have a good day.